Hello guys, my name is Patrice Roberts, and today I will be giving a speech on why gentrification is a problem. The best definition of gentrification I can find is from urban displacement, a process of neighborhood change that includes an economic change in a historically disinvested neighborhood by means of real estate investment and new higher income residents moving in, as well as demographic change, not only in terms of income level, but also in terms of changes in the education level or racial makeup of the residents. Why is this a problem? Well, investors suddenly start investing in neighborhoods they've never touched. They do not once think of the community that's been living there for decades. Investors are raising the value of the area they're gentrifying while pushing out residents. They're only thinking of their pockets, and they forget about the people on the other side of the project. Huang from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia conducted an experiment to examine where disadvantaged residents move as a result of gentrification. He stated, as neighborhoods gentrify when poor people can no longer remain in their neighborhoods and move, there are fewer affordable neighborhoods. Huang says, our findings suggest that for the Black community, there are additional constraints when they move, leading them to move to a shrinking set of affordable yet disadvantaged neighborhoods within the city. Gentrification does not have to be bad. However, the way investors are going about gentrifying neighborhoods currently is a problem. Current gentrification is displacing residents from their homes without consideration or thought. This needs to stop. A solution would be to make it a law that before investors and developers gentrify a neighborhood, they have to let the community know before doing so. They need to tell landlords, store owners, and residents exactly how much they see the value of the neighborhood will be going up and when they plan to start and finish their project. If investors and developers fail to do so, it will result in the possible loss of their project, which leads to the community being able to sue them. Also, when they are going through the project, they have to set aside a fund to help current residents to find new residency or help them be able to stay in the community. What will happen in the future? Realistically, this is not a mainstream problem. So in the future, I honestly don't see anything happening, in the near future at least. Now we could dig a little bit deeper. There is no consideration or care for current residents. Jocelyn Fiagora was a resident of Washington Heights in New York City. She lived through the gentrification of her neighborhood, pushing her to become homeless. She stated, my husband and I had lived in Washington Heights for almost 5 years. In the course of those 5 years, I had seen the neighborhood change drastically. Small businesses closed down and white people moved in. The Taco Bell, as well as Marshalls, came with them. Gentrification meant soaring rent as well, end quote. She also explained how she knew she and her husband weren't the only people who would have ended up homeless. Jocelyn Fiagora also said, it's likely that we're not the only family who ended up homeless. In fact, there is a clear link between gentrification and poverty and homelessness. The process of gentrification also predominantly affects people of color, gentrifying the neighborhoods of primarily Black and brown people. She isn't wrong. 58% of homeless people are African American, 31% are Latin, and only 7% are white. According to the Lotus campaign, amongst the most critical factors contributing to homelessness is the lack of affordable housing and poverty. Gentrification, lack of affordable housing. Lack of employment opportunities and low wages. Gentrification literally kicks residents out of their homes that used to be affordable with no fair help afterwards or no real fair warning, giving them time to find and put themselves in order. Developers and investors are ignorant and undiversified. Echo Brooklyn landlord said, this is a landlord in Brooklyn. He said, my saying it again. I'm not racist. Every Black person has a price. The average price for a Black person here in Bed-Stuy is $30,000. Up over in East New York, $10,000. Everyone wants them to leave, not because we don't like them. It's just they're messing up. They bring everything down, not all of them, end quote. This statement is ignorant. Now, what can we do to help? Prevent gentrification through zoning and other housing regulations. To help residents from being displaced and prevent harmful gentrification, the states need to promote economic growth with other opportunities in low-income communities. They must also take a close look at zoning laws. One type of zoning is R1 zoning. R1 zoning allows single-family homes to be built with 1 unit intended per lot. In some cities, R1 zoning is way above 50%, and low-income families cannot afford to move into these single-family homes after being pushed out of their gentrified neighborhoods. Ridding these zoning laws or creating new ones will help prevent gentrification. According to this insider article, some cities and states are already starting to alter their residential zoning laws, such as Oregon, requiring cities with more than 25,000 residents to allow townhomes, fourplexes, triplexes to be built. We also need to prohibit large-scale luxury developments in low-income or at-risk neighborhoods. By prohibiting large-scale luxury developments in low-income or at-risk neighborhoods, we create a safety net for individuals who are at risk of being homeless due to the gentrification of their neighborhoods. Adriana Danielian wrote in her academic journal, "In the 1980s, activists focused on increased unemployment, weakness of social welfare programs, urban entrepreneurialism, and the loss of affordable housing that resulted from government cuts, gentrification, and the unwillingness of private developers to build affordable housing." I would like to emphasize the unwillingness of private developers to build affordable housing. If lawmakers were to put in place laws protecting these neighborhoods, we can change the definition of gentrification. Do I see any of these changes happening in the near future or at all? In the near future, no. I do not see any of these changes or steps to start putting in place these changes happening anytime soon. All humans, to a certain extent, act in their own self-interest. This case is especially true for developers and investors. Gentrifying neighborhoods, the last thing that will always be on their mind is the current residents. The first thing would be their pockets. Do I see these changes happening at all? Take a look at this. Possibly. I believe in my generation, I believe we are now more open to accepting how damaging our actions can be to others. I believe my generation is the most receptive to helpful criticism and to others' feelings when they don't affect their own. When my generation clicks and gets together, it is very possible we can be the change that the world needs. Gentrification as it stands right now is a real problem. The government is allowing current residents to be put out of their homes with no assistance or any real fair warning. What the government needs to do, not only on a state but on a federal level, is take a closer look at its residents when they're renovating these neighborhoods. Just want to try to see this. On the business side, entrepreneurs need to think about these residents they're pushing out. They need to reach out to the community while finding solutions that work for both parties. What do we need to do? Yes, taking a stand such as protesting and making our voices heard will help, and always does. However, most importantly, we need to put ourselves, you need to start putting yourselves in the position of lawmakers, investors, and entrepreneurs so we can make the change that we see needs to be made. Thank you for listening to my speech.